I can remember Governor Youngkin saying he wanted to turn Virginia into the data center mecca of the world. Well, he almost succeeded. So now we're stepping back and we're beginning to say, what does this mean? What are the public impacts of having data centers? We know that data centers are here to stay. We know AI is not going anywhere. We know that the data centers are an integral part of our digital infrastructure. We will continue, Northern Virginia and Virginia as a whole, we will continue to support our nation's national security. And yes, data centers will be a part of that. They're a very big part of that. But we also have to understand what those data centers mean to our communities. And we have to understand what they're taking in terms of water usage, electricity usage, and whether we have the infrastructure to support that, and whether or not they are paying their fair share. And thank you, conferees, because they sat down and actually peeled back the onion to look at all of those issues. This budget starts to correct what I considered a gross imbalance on how the data centers have been treated. And it starts with a pay your fair share model, which actually does have a consumption tax in here. That makes some sense. I don't know if it's the right consumption tax, but we do not have a consumption tax right now. And now it's time. We also have language in this budget that talks about water scarcity. And we have transparency language about reporting on water usage. We also have language that talks about the difference in a utility rate. And we have language that starts a very robust study to look at the numerous issues around data centers, to come up with maybe some environmental recommendations, maybe to come up with size recommendations, and maybe to help our partners in local government who have had a fairly free hand in approving these data centers. So there's a lot on our plate here. And I think this budget starts down the pathway of good public policy in that area. And I think this budget has a lot of other things that give us good public policy and meet my tests of equity and fairness and economic vitality and an affordability agenda. This budget substantially increases the salaries to teachers well over what Governor Youngkin presented. We're at 4% over the biennium for teacher pay. We have to get up to at least the average in teacher pay. We want to create a world-class public education, and we're there, but we need to do more. That is the economic driver of tomorrow, a world-class K-12 public education system. Every single one of our little ones deserves that. And actually, so do we as adults. And I want to go on to say, I mean, the $50 million that we're adding to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that's going to jumpstart the supply of housing, which we so desperately need. And part of that housing will actually be affordable to families who are earning maybe 60% of the median income in their areas. That's an affordability mark. And then I'd say we'd have to go on. The H.R. 1 budget that passed in Congress has absolutely had, and it's going to have, incredibly devastating impacts on our Virginians. And this budget steps up to try to mitigate some of those impacts. And we will not be able to mitigate all of them. We simply will not. But we do have money set aside to help with our, it's called the healthcare tax credit on our healthcare market. And that's going to help a little bit replace the healthcare tax credit that was not extended by Congress. So, we can go on. We also have incredible benefits in this budget that give us some structural integrity, if you will. We've set aside money, I think it's about $350 million to help us, again, buttress the impact of Medicaid cuts. We are going to have individuals in Virginia who will be without health insurance. And this budget tries to minimize that. It's not going to succeed at it, but it's going to minimize it. We're going to try to help rural hospitals. Let me go on to say, I am happy that Metro funding seems to be robust, both for capital and operating. And we have some other, Reggie, let me talk about Reggie a little bit. I know Reggie doesn't seem to be a favorite topic, but I happen to think Reggie is important, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. If you look at the numbers between 2022 and 2024, the state brought in $200 million in allowing Dominion to sell those credits so they could close power plants. That money was coming into the state, and we were using it for flood mitigation. I mean, some of the jurisdictions in rural Virginia suffered incredible damage because of flooding. We need to have dollars to help our rural areas, help our urban areas if they're suffering from from floods, period. And we also use the Reggie money, of course, for weatherization. And we're getting cleaner air. Isn't that an amazing result? Madam Chair, I give you great credit, and I give our staff credit. This budget gives us a fair and affordable pathway forward for Virginians. I'm delighted to vote for it, and I really hope that all of the senators here vote for this budget. Thank you, Madam President.